It sucks to be a white American. Now hold on, give me a chance, let me explain. I want you to think of the kind of person who would put on a White Lives Matter sticker on the back of their Ford pickup. Why do they do that? Is it all racism? Well, yeah. But I think it goes a lot deeper than that. White Americans basically have no culture, not in the same way we see other people. And we white people, we know this inherently, and it scares us. We know we have our regional cultures. Our cities, our sports teams, and families all give us our regional culture, but being white basically means nothing, or generally at least nothing positive. White people throughout American history are almost always seen on the side of the oppressors. Not all white people, but most of us. And this sucks to learn. It's even harder to internalize. And it's why white people usually don't accept this, because it makes us feel a deep sense of guilt. I think it's why white people say nonsense like, I can't be racist, I have black friends. Sure, you probably don't see black people as objects, but you're refusing to accept the role our people have had in their oppression.
In recent years, we have seen a rise in the phrase White Lives Matter. But what does this actually mean? Is it a response to racism, or is it rooted in fear and a sense of inferiority? Today, we'll break down the psychology, history, and politics behind this slogan. Watch and pay attention, and I will share my thought later.
That guilt we feel is our responsibility for the actions of our ancestors. It's why white people refuse to say that black people deserve reparation, because it admits our guilt. But black people deserve reparations. It just makes sense logically. You can sue someone for scratching your car, but black people can't sue the American government for the enslavement of their people. My people are arresting and deporting Mexican families from this country. Think about that. We are telling people that they are not allowed on the land we stole. Let's go a step further. White people stole a sacred land site from the people indigenous to this land and then carved 4 white people's faces on it, most of which were slave owners. I mean, Mount Rushmore is a place that we look at and we're like, oh, cool, giant faces. But to other people, it's a giant form of oppression. And admitting that and coming to terms with that sucks. We suck, dude. My people really and truly suck. Not all of us contributed to this oppression, but we are all a part of it. And this will mostly sound like virtue signaling. It will mostly sound like, look at how rough we are. But there is a reality to admitting this guilt and being honest with it. Because white people are afraid to do this. And we're afraid to admit it because my people are weak. White people are weak. We have power we have given ourselves and put down the cultures that are stronger than us because we know that we're weak. If white Americans were oppressed the same way black, native, or Mexican American people are, we would crack like glass. Our culture and identity as white people is so meaningless that we do everything in our power to keep other people down so that we don't break from having someone else on top. I think that's why you see white Americans championing white pride, not just out of ignorance or racism, but it's because they are scared. They're scared to come to terms with their guilt, scared to admit they're wrong, and terrified to acknowledge that we may have all the societal, economic, and political power, but as a people we are weak. But this isn't the way it has to be forever. I have hope that one day my people will finally take responsibility for what we have done. I hope that we'll collectively accept our role in the oppression of our non-white brothers and sisters and finally take action. And it will take the action of us white folks. It's not just non-white people that have to fight for their rights. It's us too fighting for them because our cross to bear is being born white. Being born with the skin color of the oppressors means that we have to fight to be nothing like them. We're not near that right now. America is in a tumultuous stage where it very much does not feel like white people are acknowledging where they went wrong. But I want to have hope, and I refuse to accept that one day justice won't prevail. Collectively, we can all shed the shadow of oppression and share this place together. And that's the message I want to end with. I want to be hopeful that one day oppression will be something taught in history class, something that we don't have to see ourselves in. That's what I hope. Anyway, I want to be optimistic in the end. Anyway, that's it.
This country was not built on freedom. It was built on theft, genocide, slavery, and silence. The land we live on was stolen, ripped away from Native people through war, betrayal, and the violent erasure of entire cultures. Homes burned, families torn apart, and languages were forbidden, and children were buried. This land wasn't discovered, it was taken. Then this country marched south and stole half of Mexico, Texas, California, Arizona, and New Mexico. That land wasn't empty. It was alive with history, with people, with deep indigenous roots. Mexicans and Native Americans share that blood. And now this country dares to call their descendants illegal on the land that was theirs first. And while land was being stolen, millions of black people were stolen too. Enslaved, brutalized, forced to build a country that never intended to see them as human. The wealth of this nation, its railroads, its cotton, banks, White House, was soaked in the black blood and sweat. And still the system works to keep them down, to silence, to punish, to erase. And today this country is still being built on the backs of the brown, the poor, the undocumented, farm workers who can't afford the food that they harvest, mothers crossing borders to keep their children alive, laborers doing the hardest work for the lowest pay, while being called a burden by the very people who benefit from them. I may not carry that history in my blood, but I refuse to look away. Because the truth is, America was never built by the powerful. It was built by the oppressed, by the people whose names never made it to the textbooks, by the ones this country tried to forget. But we remember. We remember because silence is a choice. And I will not choose it. Not now, not ever. Not while native land is still stolen. Not while black lives are still under attack. Not while immigrants are hunted, caged, and dehumanized. And not while injustice reigns, here or anywhere. I don't speak for anyone, but I will speak with them. Stand beside them and fight for what's right. Because I know this. We are the people, and we won't be silent.
Because identity is not freedom. If you're always going on and on about how America is the greatest country on earth because it's so free and we're always trying to spread freedom, you need to calm down. America is and has always been about two things: profit and white supremacy. When I say this, I'm not trying to be ungrateful of the privilege I have having grown up in the United States as the wealthiest country on earth. And I know that there are plenty of countries around the world that have horrible human rights offenses, genocides, poverty, famine, corruption, and so on and so forth. But America is not about freedom, and we have pretended to be about freedom for the entire lifetime of this country. When I think about the Pledge of Allegiance that I was forced to recite in elementary school, middle school, high school, every day, every morning, looking at a flag, placing my hand over my heart, and pledging my allegiance to a country that I didn't really know that much about. We have whitewashed our history and our modern politics and our impact on the world right now so much that most people who get educated in this country have no clue what dark, evil shit we get up to. The FBI archives are publicly available. You can go online and read all about the nasty shit that they did, the relentless spying they did on people that were protesting through the 1960s and 70s, and look at Iraq throughout the 20th century, and then the invasion after 9/11. Look at Israel and Palestine. We're driven by two things: profit and white supremacy. Those are the bottom lines. From the very beginning, when this country was founded for equality for every person, yet we had slaves that built our economy. For the first 90 years of this country, For the next 100, black people still did not have full rights and citizenship recognized by the government. We can't even ask to use ranked choice voting in our elections because the current politicians and the political parties are so entrenched in exchanging money for policy and perpetuating the two-party system that leaves the rest of the country, 90% of people, completely fucked by an endless cycle of capitalism. It's all about profit, and it's all about white supremacy, both at home and abroad. And I'm so sick of the way that the United States media and education completely whitewashes that. We can't even have a conversation about communism and socialism because everybody in this country is so fucking scared of those words. They have no idea what they mean. Remember McCarthyism? I mean, how can you have a country that says that it is a free country when you literally have a ringleader blacklisting other politicians just by uttering a word? And that fear of communism and socialism is absolutely still present today. We're so stuck on capitalism and this greed for profit, relentless greed for profit. It will keep us locked in this cycle of raping the earth and exploiting working class people and keeping everybody else divided through the mechanisms of white supremacy. I'm so sick and tired, and I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of watching the politicians and the leaders fight in every way they can to keep this country exactly on the path that it is. Anyway, that's my hot take for the 4th of July.
The slogan White Lives Matter first appeared as a direct response to Black Lives Matter, a movement created after the death of Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, and George Floyd, where Black Lives Matter demanded justice for police brutality and systemic racism. White Lives Matter often emerged as a counter slogan, suggesting that focusing on black life meant ignoring white lives. But here's the truth, saying Black Lives Matter never meant only black lives. It meant Black Lives Matter too. The counter-response was not about equality, it was about defensiveness. Many people who use White Lives Matter argue they are just promoting equality, but the context tells a different story. The phrase has been heavily adopted by white nationalist groups as a way to downplay racism and shift attention away from black struggles. By pretending that highlighting black pain is somehow an attack on white, it becomes a form of subtitle racism, minimizing centuries of inequality. But there is also another layer, a sense of inferiority. In many parts of America, working-class white people face unemployment, addiction, and declining communities. Some feel abandoned by politicians and invisible in a changing society. Instead of blaming the system of inequality, they have been encouraged to blame minorities. This creates a psychological trap when progress is made for black community. Some whites do not see it as equality, they see it as a loss for themselves. Politicians and media have weaponized this insecurity. By fueling racial division, they convince poor and working-class white people that their problems come from immigrants or black communities, when in reality, the system is failing everyone. The slogan, White Lives Matter, then becomes a political tool, not just a social one. It turns economic pain into racial resentment, keeping people divided and distracted. The danger of White Lives Matter is that it often serves as a mask for white supremacy. By portraying white people as victims, it tries to erase the very real history of slavery, segregation, and systemic racism. It takes a movement meant to uplift an oppressed group and flips it into a slogan of dominance. That is why organizations like the Southern Poverty Law Center list White Lives Matter as a hate slogan, often linked to extremist groups. So, is White Lives Matter about racism or inferiority? The answer is both. It's fueled by racism, denying black struggles, but it's also rooted in feelings of insecurity and fear of losing privilege. It reflects a society where progress for one group is wrongly seen as a threat to another. In the end, the truth is simple. Black Lives Matter was never about taking away from anyone. It was about justice. When some responded with White Lives Matter, they are not really fighting for equality, they are fighting against it. So the next time you hear the phrase, ask yourself, is this about fairness or is it about fear? Thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comment box below. Until next time, cheers and have a good one.